Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up, what's up, what's up? This is your host, Mark Roxey, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Super excited that you're here today, and as usual, I have my wonderful sidekick here, Harold Hunt. Harold, what's up, what's up, what's up?
What's up, man? A lot of stuff going on. Can't wait to chop it up tonight.
Oh, man, I know you've got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to talk about, and I am really eager to get into it. And without further ado, I'd also like to invite into the studio my other sidekick in the boxing world, my partner in crime, my person who I spend a lot of time in the gym with, an absolutely exceptional boxing trainer and a partner of mine, Mr. Dwayne Fenn. What's up, Coach?
Hey, Coach. How are you? How are you, Coach?
Today I'm actually doing super well now. After the big blizzard snowstorm that we had, we got about 20 inches of snow up here. And, I'll tell you what, man, I've been digging out for a couple of days, but I'm doing well. And I'm really, really excited because this is the first time, Harold, this is the first time that I've had Mr. Coach Dwayne Fenn on the Boxing Breakdown. And y'all listeners out there, everybody who's listening to the Boxing Breakdown today, you are in for a treat because this man knows a lot about boxing.
I appreciate the good words of confidence. You know, it's been fun working. We've been having some years where it's just been fun working together. So it's been fantastic. You guys got us beat. You know, we had about like 14 inches here in Jersey, but you guys in Pennsylvania, you guys are beating us by 6 inches. So kudos to you. That was a workout in itself, just shoveling that long driveway of yours.
What you got, Harold? What you got out there?
Nothing.
Where you at?
Absolutely nothing. No snow, no flurries. I think there was like a couple flurries, but they were like a couple seconds. But people still made a run on the grocery stores.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. If they just
absolutely nothing on the ground, it's too warm to stick. Just
crazy.
Just crazy. Yeah, that's all I can say.
And now, what town are you? What town are you?
Atlanta.
Oh,
Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, who's better than you?
I don't know.
Yeah, who's better than you? Yeah. Holy moly.
So listen, man. You guys, we got so much to chop up here on the Boxing Breakdown this week, and so I'm just gonna kick it off, man. I'd like to really take a moment to wish all of our congratulations and a shout out to Britton Hart, who is going to be fighting this Friday night on the bare knuckle boxing. It's happening. It's going down. And I just want to shout out Britton Hart. Hope you do well. She's fighting a young lady by the name of Paige Van Sant, who is formerly from the UFC. And they are going to be clashing big time on the bare knuckle tournament, bare knuckle boxing. Yeah, I don't know what it's called either, but for those of you in the boxing world, we are in the boxing world. We're not in the bare knuckle world, so to speak. But what we know is that Britton Hart is a true warrior. She's stepping up. She's going to be fighting supposedly for her bare knuckle debut, Paige Van Sant. And from my understanding of, the little background that I have on the sport, it's going down, man, and it's going to be a serious fight. It is a main event, and it's, featuring two female fighters. So hats off to the females for, being able to get that main stage opportunity. And Dwayne, what you want to say?
Well, we had the pleasure of working with Britain Hart on a couple of fights of hers, and I think that Britain Hart is going to fare very, very well. And the one thing that you can't deny of Britain Hart is that she is a fighter. Some people talk the talk, but Britain Hart is truly a fighter, and I don't expect anything less of her than to give it 110%. And she is definitely coming to win. She's not coming to lay down. So I don't know what their scouting report, whatever their scouting report was, but I can guarantee you she will be in there trying to get a victory.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, man, we know this. This we know. And it's going to be the BKFC, and I guess they're calling it the Knucklemania, Harold. And
Okay.
yeah, and on that card, you got Paige Van Sant versus Britain Hart, which is the main event. Johnny Bedford versus Dat Nijin. Chris Liban versus Quinton Henry. And that's on Friday, February 5th, 2001. So make sure you get your tickets. I guess you can get them at bareknuckle.tv/events. Shout out. Y'all can give me my endorsement pay later on. Thank you for those of you at the Bare Knuckle marketing team. Yeah, man. So
we had an opportunity to take a look at some of the film on her opponent, on Britain Hart's opponent, and and I, Coach, you and I sat down and we talked about it because we was actually going to assist Britain Hart in that particular fight, and so as we was taking a look at the film, she really has a very good opportunity here, and she really has a high possibility of beating this fight, winning this fight. Contrary to popular belief, so contrary to popular belief, particularly in bare knuckles, anything can happen in a bare knuckle fight. I mean, so I'm really looking forward to that, and seeing, I don't know what her coach's strategy is, what their game plan is, but I do see some exposure, some weaknesses in her opponent that could be exploited, so we'll see. She seems to be a very athletic girl, but I don't know if her boxing IQ, does she have enough experience as far as boxing is concerned to say that she can actually beat Britain Hart. So we'll see. Time will tell. But there is some opportunities for Britain Hart in that fight.
Oh yeah, I can't agree with you more, Coach. And yeah, just for full disclosure, for those of you that are tuning into the Boxing Breakdown, yes, we were training Britain Hart in preparation for this fight, and just to be real transparent, we had a death in our family, and we had to kind of pull back on being able to train her and prepare her for this fight, regrettably, because this was a big fight, and we were. Dwayne and I were super pumped and super excited to be there and to be part of such a wonderful main event like this. So unfortunately, we won't be there, but we are there in spirit, and we do see the opportunity come out with a victory is very significant. So I'm not sure if they're if Barstool or DraftKings or any of those guys are doing any betting on this fight, or if you can actually bet on the fight. But I would tell you, this is it's going to be a real fight and worthy of a main event. And I can tell you, Britton Hart will not lay down. And I don't believe Paige Van Sant will lay down either. So I think this is just going to be a battle to the end. And y'all should make sure you tune in. And we are going to, send our regards to Britton Hart, because we have our fingers crossed that she will win this fight. We love you. You know that. And you know how much I love you. And I wish I could be with you for this fight. So now, Coach D, I said it. All right. Now what you got for that?
So yeah, it's official. Now, who are the other people on the undercard? I'm not familiar with those names, Coach.
Yeah, they're all bare knuckle guys from the UFC, guys, on the periphery of boxing. I don't really recognize anybody there that I would say, it's not like a Paulie Malignaggi. They don't have Paulie on the card, but they do have Paige Van Sant on the card. And for those of you that do not know, Paige Van Sant fought in the UFC. She came over to bare knuckle boxing, and she was also on Dancing with the Stars. So she has, look, being on a Dancing with the Stars is wonderful for audience and such. And certainly for, for the folks at bare knuckle, it's wonderful to have such a celebrity fighting, but I don't know how much that's going to help her in the actual fight. So I wish her luck. I hope she has a great fight. But for those of you that think that Hart is on the B side, she may be, on paper on the B side. I'm not really sure, but what I do know is that she's got a very, very good chance of not just winning, but winning in big fashion. Wouldn't you say, Coach?
Well, she was on the B side when we took her to Connecticut. Who was the young lady we fought out in Connecticut?
Oh yeah, man. She was on the B side of every fight that we've ever done together, but she came to us roughly about a year and a half ago. And we fought, what is the girl from Philadelphia? Unique Harris in a fight on King's Promotions up in, at the Zembo Shrine in Harrisburg. And she came out with a draw, and I had her for 3 weeks for that fight. And then after that, we went, and we went up to Rhode Island. This was COVID-19 time. We fought an undefeated fighter. What was her name? Kim Wabick. Kim Wabick. We fought Kim Wabick. She knocked her out in the first minute and a half of the first round. And then she went back into the bare knuckle, and she fought a girl by the name of Rendine. I can't remember her full name, but she got a stoppage in the fourth round, a knockout TKO in the fourth round. And now here we go with Paige Van Sant. And
that Kim Wabick fight was a big fight because she I believe she was undefeated at the time. She was what was Kim's record when we fought her? 7-0?
I think it was 6-0 or 7-0 or something like that. Yeah. She was undefeated. We were coming in on the B side, and Britton Hart, sir, that was a great fight, man.
It seems like you guys got her ready for this fight already. I mean, you've already implemented the game plan, right? So she's just going to execute. You guys are just not there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, that's exactly right. We did enough to lay the groundwork for her to continue her training. She spent some time out in California at Knuckleheads Boxing, so I'm sure the folks over there helped to get her right for this fight, and we hope that the information that was delivered to her, Britton Hart is a very, very smart fighter. She's a wonderful person, and she's a mother of 2 beautiful kids, and man, we want this for her so bad. So I'm hoping that she can pull out the victory. But yeah, we gave her what she needs to beat this girl at this time, and she can do it. So we're hoping that that'll happen.
Yeah. But best of luck to Britton. I called her, left her a message, and I'm sure she she's going to fare very well, and the fans are going to be highly entertained.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure, for sure. That you're absolutely right on that. So anyway, one last time, shout out Britton Hart. We wish you luck. We love you. We hope you do great, and our hearts are with you. We'll be with you the whole fight, as you know. You know how it goes. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. Get it done, Britton Hart. And so, all right. So let's move on. Let's move on. What you got, Harold? You got some stuff you wanna chop up?
Well, it seems as if Mr. Ryan Garcia has kind of overstepped his popularity as he was trumpeting that he would be fighting Pacquiao, and had the world in a tizzy for a few days until his promoter put the kibosh on it. Said, no, that's not going to happen. So now he's kind of backpedaling in the media, and I really don't know if Tank is going to stick around and move forward and fight someone else, or if Garcia is going to get opportunity to fight him. He's kind of put his foot in his mouth, without direction. So that's an interesting point to me. What's your opinion of it, coaches?
Man, well, first of all, let me say this. Let me say this before you, just to set the narrative on this one, right? So Ryan Garcia is, he's 21-0 with 18 KOs, right? He's fighting in the lightweight division. Man, he just came off of a win, a really stellar win against Luke Campbell. They fought at 135 even, and that took place recently, a couple weeks ago at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. And, it was a great fight. The scores were basically 58-56, 58-55, and 58-55. So pretty much a unanimous decision win for Ryan Garcia, but he did get dropped in the fight with an overhand left from the southpaw Campbell. And that really sent reverberations around the boxing community about his chin. Threw some questions out there. And then right after that fight, we hear all these murmurings about all these people he's going to fight. He's going to fight Tank. Well, no, maybe he'll fight Devin Haney. No, maybe he's going to fight, Javier Fortuna. I even heard Jake Paul. There was a possibility of him fighting Jake Paul. And
wow.
then I hear about Manny Pacquiao, right? And what about Teofimo Lopez? There's talks about, if the Cambosa fight doesn't happen, if he doesn't, I don't believe the Cambosa fight's going to happen because I don't think Australia is going to let them into the country. So where does that put Ryan Garcia? Who is he really fighting?
Well, it's crazy. Well, first, kudos to Ryan Garcia because I was really interested. I always like to see when these kids when they starting to get their step up fights. And Luke Campbell is a real fighter, right? He's a well-schooled fighter, good amateur career. And I was very interested to see how he would do against Luke Campbell. I can tell that he took him very seriously, even though he was saying he's going to knock him out and all that kind of stuff. I knew that he took him very, very seriously. That him and his camp took that very, very seriously. So to see him get that victory over Luke Campbell, kind of raises my antenna and say that I'm very interested in seeing them kind of work that division out. So you have Devin Haney, you have Tank Davis, you have Teofimo Lopez, and you still have some, and don't forget Steve, you got Secor in that weight division. And so that's a very interesting division. And so the fans want to see these fights happen. But as we know, the promoters are trying to build these fights up and try to build the fan base up because the promoters want to make sure that when they put their money out there, they get a return on their investment, and it turns out to be a big, big, big fight. So I think I would love to see that Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. I don't even know how to call that fight. I don't know. Is that at this point, I would say it's 50-50, right? Maybe leaning a little bit more toward, if I had to lean toward anyone, a little bit more would probably be leaning toward Tank a little bit more. But that's a very interesting fight. And the thing about boxing that I think we're kind of getting away from is they believe that if these guys take a loss, that all of a sudden their career is over. And I don't understand why that has to be so in this new age of boxing. So when you're talking about the Sugar Ray Robinsons and the Jersey Joe Walcotts and the Joe Lewises, those losses didn't stop their popularity. Even if you move up a little bit more and you watch Arturo Gotti had losses, and he still was able to sell out the arenas after his losses. I don't understand. I mean, I get it. I get the business portion of you want to build this fight, and they're investors, promoters are investors, and they have to get a return on their money. I understand that.
Yes,
but,
go ahead.
But as a fan, and I know the fans want to see this fight, I would love to see that Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight.
So why do you think they're not fighting? Somewhat less. Why do you think, Harold? Why do you think they're not fighting?
My opinion strictly is the Mayweather type of influence and opinion is he's trying to emulate that same type of thing he did with some of the other fighters in his career. So he's holding Tank back in that regard. Just like Coach was just saying about De La Hoya lost a lot of big fights. He was not a winner in his big fights at all, but he was able to sell. And he had his losses, but he still packed the arenas with whoever he happened to fight. So I agree with you, Coach. These people are really worried about that zero, where if you want to be profitable and be marketable, you need to fight, a win or a loss. We can just look at one of the welterweights. He had a great fight with Spencer.
Sean Porter. I'm a Sean Porter.
Okay. Now, Sean Porter, he has lost about 3 times, but yet he still gets work. He still fights on a regular basis. So,
and you make a very good point. So here's the point. The point is, who's not paying for a Sean Porter fight? Actually, who is not going to pay for a Sean Porter fight? You know that when Sean Porter steps into that ring, you know that he's coming to get a victory. He's coming to get a victory, and whoever he fights, he's giving 110%. Who's not willing to pay for that?
Right, as De La Hoya did when he got into the ring. So one of these young guys needs to step up and take an opportunity. Maybe you lose a fight, but guess what? You have opportunity to fight the other ones. You look more vulnerable because you did lose a fight, but the other fighters will fight you. Then you rise to the top and win, and then you have this nice round robin going on. The zero doesn't matter anymore. I think Keith Thurman really started to, I don't care about the zero. I don't care about the zero. And that kind of changed the attitudes. He still had his zero, but I think just floating that narrative out there made people think about that. Well, the zero is not all that. So, coaches, as you said, maybe these 4 guys who are right here in the division, I think Garcia can take a loss. I think, as I said before, when Canelo lost to Floyd, it was erased. Everybody ignores it, like it never even happened, and he was able to continue to move forward. So if any of them can take a loss and not be hurt by that, as the old adage was, it would be him. Tank, he may have issue with it. I don't think Haney, if he lost a fight, I don't think that'll hurt his marketing because it's not necessarily at his best right now. But because he took the fight and he lost the fight in the fashion that he won't get knocked out, he'll lose on points or whatever. Yeah, he'll be more marketable. So if those 3 or those 4 could just start a round robin, but who's going to fight who first?
Because what happens, Coach, and it's funny you say that, because what happens is, because they're so, I believe that they're very, very on par. So what do I mean? I mean that they're so equally matched, in my opinion. I don't see anyone overly standing out above the rest. It's not like you have So I think that they make those fights make good fights because they're very close to one another. Most of those fights are 50-50, 55, 40. They're very, very, very close fights, right? So what that means is you're going to get an entertaining fight. So, like, for example, you take on Arturo Gatti and what's the kid he had the trilogy with?
Mickey Ward.
Mickey Ward, right? Mickey Ward and those guys are not your A. Mickey Ward is not a plus, A level fighter, right? Those guys are B plus fighters, blah 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 blah. But they're good fighters, but they're not your Floyd Mayweathers, your Sugar Ray Leonards, and blah 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 blah, right? But everyone still to this day talks about those 3 fights between Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti because the matches, it's the parity that makes those matches that people want to watch. And quite frankly, their popularities will increase. I believe their popularities will increase
with the law.
Yeah, win, lose, or draw. Similar to a Sean Porter. I'm a Sean Porter fan because of how he comes to fight every time. So I believe their popularities will increase. Now, I from a promoter perspective, they might be worried about these fighters getting in these tough fights and shortening their careers, right? And not getting the paydays that would be life-changing money, because they're not making the Floyd Mayweather pay-per-view numbers, right? So maybe that's a concern as well. And wait until I want to make sure that this fight get bigger so that they can draw more money. But here's the problem with that. The problem with that is, how are they going to get bigger if they don't fight? Listen, when Floyd Mayweather fought Diego Morales, I was a big Diego Morales fan, and I'm like, this kid is going to get killed by Diego Morales, right? Floyd Mayweather say what you want. Floyd Mayweather stepped up and took those fights. That's how he became Floyd Mayweather, right?
That's right.
By beating those guys, right? So I don't see how you get the popularity without taking those fights.
So check this out. Check this out, guys. You were talking about a handful of fighters in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Okay. Some of those fighters you mentioned were Keith Thurman, right? Sean Porter, right? Those were the two fighters that you just mentioned. I'm going to mention a couple of other fighters, and I want you to tell me what they have in common, okay? So
okay.
Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Jamal James. So out of those fighters, what do they have in common?
Well, they don't have any common opponents. A few of them do, but there's no singular common opponent for all 5. So it may be just guessing, Coach. I'm weighing in first. I think maybe it is their style, their come forward style. You don't necessarily have a boxer.
Okay, Coach D, what do you think?
I'm thinking they fought Spence. I don't know about the last kid, but I think they all got losses to Spence.
Okay. All right. So check this out. Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia,
Yeah.
Danny Garcia, Jamal James. I'm going to go a little further. I'm going to throw in Manny Pacquiao. Okay. And out of all of those names, every single one of those fighters
PBC
has
fighters.
lost.
Oh, okay.
They all have been defeated. And they're all in the top 5 right now in the welterweight division, 147. They are all in the top 5 of the alphabets. The WBC, right, has Sean Porter ranked as number 1, Mikey Garcia as 2, Keith Thurman as 3, and Danny Garcia as 4. And every single one of them has lost, right? The recessed champion in the WBA is Manny Pacquiao. He's not exempt from coming back and fighting, as you all know. Jamal James has also lost. He has 1 defeat.
Yes.
He has 27 wins, 12 wins by way of knockout, I believe, and one defeat. And of course, like Sean Porter, man, these are the top fighters. The WBO has Sean Porter ranked as number 1. And guess what? The IBF has him ranked as number 2. He's ranked in every single one of the, except for the WBA, he's ranked, right? And he's number 1. And he's lost. This is to your point about fighters, man. Fighters have got to fight, and we got to get back to this time and place and era where, because you lose a fight, somehow you get thrown to the curb, man. These guys are showing. They are showing and proving that you can have a defeat, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3, and still be ranked and still be the top box office draw, the creme de la creme, the top of the division with losses. Come on, guys. Come on, fighters.
Yes, I agree with that. Floyd kind of messed that, and I messed it up, but his narrative was so great that it forced everyone to treasure their oath. But now that he's out, these things can go forward. I just think Alvarez's 1 loss was great. Because when you look at his record, he has a loss and 2 draws. But a loss and a draw. But you still are not put off by the numbers. You're not upset that it's not 24-0 and 80 knockouts or whatever. You're okay with that draw. You're okay with that 1 loss. Like you said, Jamal James, I'm okay with that. So I think the boxing public coming up, they're going to be okay with that. And then just go back to our point, these 4 young guys in that division there, if 2 of them just fight and there's a loss between, there's going to be a loss, but the other 2 who are undefeated will easily want to jump in and fight the loser could lose. And then we have this round robin. But, back to my point, back to my frustration, why can't these guys fight? I think Tank is because he's being influenced. I think Garcia, Golden Boy is holding our boy Garcia out. Haney, unfortunately, at this point, he doesn't have any kind of charisma. The boy needs something to happen in his life that a marriage or I don't want to say anything negative, but he needs his profile. Marry some starlet. Something needs to happen to raise his profile. And then, and of course we got, our boy from Brooklyn, Mr. Telfino. So who's coming off of foot surgery? He's about 70%, he says. So all of these things pair in. Some promoter has to allow this to happen.
Because
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Because it doesn't happen. Floyd just happened to be so good that he maintained his 0, but he fought everybody, right? He fought everybody, right? Yeah. So, but that means that has nothing. Everybody's not Floyd Mayweather, right? But here's what will happen. you will get the popularity because the parity on these fights, the skill set is so close between all of these groups that you're gonna make classic fights. And because and because your skill sets are close, you're gonna make class. Listen, you know who get hurt? These are the people that get hurt. When an A-level fighter fights a B-level fighter, right? You're gonna get hurt. When you have the mismatches. But being that you guys are so close on parity, what you usually have is great fights. Now I heard Sean Porter father say this when he was preparing for the Errol Spence fight, when he says, listen, you're just not going to come knock my son out, right? He's not that far away from you where you can just come knock him out. You might get knocked out, right? Trying to knock him out, right? Because the levels is not that far away. So you can take those fights and not damage your fighter to the point where he's damaged to the point where he can't fight anymore, right? Because of the skill sets are so equal, what you're going to have is a great fight, a great safe fight. What makes fights unsafe is when you have an A guy fighting a B guy, right? But two A's just make great fights.
When Ray Leonard lost to Duran, that was like unheard of. How dare you take a chance to lose your zero to a man who's coming up in weight? But that just catapulted Leonard's popularity with that loss, because boxing fans can see that he fought outside his style. He got into the macho kind of thing, and it produced two other fights that the public enjoyed. So he lost his O pretty early. You know, he was already champion, but he lost his O, and that was marketable for him. Red Leonard fought a lot. He fought a lot with that O, and it wasn't a negative thing. So I've seen fighters with zeros, and they keep that zero, but they never get on the big stage, you know, and then they get too old or something happens. So how do you guys think we could force that to happen? I mean, what do you do? I mean, what is it? You know,
well, people listen. People are not
make these promoters work together and get this round robin of money out there.
Well, I can tell you what won't work, right? A Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao as an exhibition. That won't work. That will never work. So, I mean, basically the fans they're not going to pay for that. Why would you pay for that? Would you pay for either one of you pay for that?
No.
I mean, is there anybody out there listening? Any of the Boxing Breakdown fans, any of you guys, I don't think any of you right now would pay, $79.99 to watch an exhibition against Manny Pacquiao and Ryan Garcia. And I will tell you this, that I believe Manny Pacquiao will win that fight, even as the older fighter, even in the condition that he's in right now. I believe he wins that fight, because if you look at the Luke Campbell fight and what put Ryan Garcia down, he's going to have that and a lot more angles and a lot more going on in that fight than he could even imagine. He's never seen that before.
I'm not interested in seeing a welterweight fight a lightweight. So if I don't think too many people. I just thought that didn't make any sense to me. That didn't make any sense to me. You got real fights out there that you can make. So there's no reason to make that kind of fight.
And that's what the majority of the people believe. I think what you're saying, you're hitting the nail on the head right there, Coach D, because that's what I don't think anybody wants to watch that.
Right.
They tried to upgrade it to a regular fight at a catch weight, but that didn't fly too well. They put him in a champion in recession, if I use the right term.
Yep.
So it could clear the decks, so it'd be acceptable by the public. That didn't work. So they saw the funds out there, the money out there, but the public is not going to swallow it. They're not going to swallow it. Just like Coach just said, I don't want to see, lightweight and a welterweight. I don't want to see that, And the exhibition just really made it stink. But when they tried to clean up and make it a regular fight, took the title away from Pacquiao, that didn't work either.
So can either one of you tell me where Ryan Garcia is ranked right now? Like, where is he ranked? Like, where does he even rank in terms of the top 130, 35 pounders? Where does he rank? I can't even, I don't even find him in the rankings.
It's the 8 million followers.
But he doesn't even rank, man. Like, Luke Campbell is ranked number 5. Oh, Ryan Garcia, I guess, I find him ranked one place as number 2.
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Ryan Garcia is ranked number 2.
By who?
I can't even determine where this ranking comes from. Let me see.
It's not the Big Four.
No. It's not the Big Four. Nope. I can't disclose where I see this ranking, but
okay.
But I can't disclose where I see it. But I can tell you that they got him listed as number 2 in the rankings. Like, is that big? What? I mean, he's 21-0. I mean, okay, Vasily Lomachenko is in the rankings here as well, and he's 14-2. So you got a guy here named Emmanuel Tago. You even know that guy?
No.
He's 32-1 with 15 big wins coming by way of KO. This guy is ranked number 6. Gervonta Davis is ranked number 8 in this list. So, I mean, people the rankings are all over the place right now. I don't know what's going on.
The rankings are all over the place, but what they're really concerned about is who can put asses in the seat. Who has the ability to put asses in the seat? Ryan Garcia has a big following, and he can put asses in the seat, right? But you made a statement in reference to what could be done, right? What could be done? So the promoter's perspective is they want to get a return on their investment. They want these fights to be big fights. But so they can do, but there's fighters that I'm still interested in seeing besides those 4. Like, I'll give you an example. Who was the guy that lost to
Teofimo Lopez?
No. Lomachenko. Who was the guy that lost to? He knocked Lomachenko down, but he lost. Linares.
Oh, right? Yeah, Jorge Linares.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing a Linares fight a Garcia or a Linares fight I'm curious. I think Linares can fight, right? I'm interested in seeing what Lomachenko will do against a Devin Haney so the point that I'm making is, if they don't want to fight each other, then fight, right? Fight more than just 1 time a year, 2 times a year. Like, fight 3 or 4 times a year. And what'll happen is sooner or later, you're going to have to do what Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns did, because the fans are going to request it. So, but you got to fight more. I don't think they fight enough.
Well, I also heard some murmurings of Javier Fortuna squaring off against Ryan Garcia as well. That was a name that came out. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I believe that Teofimo is ultimately going to end up fighting Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia is going to fight Gervonta Davis, right? And then you're going to have guys like Lomachenko getting they're going to get the bread of that, whoever loses. And then, I mean, you've got Jorge Linares in there. You've got Javier Fortuna. You've got Lee Selby. Richard Comey's not out by any means. I mean, he
Sure,
got.
you're not interested in seeing Comey fight? One of these guys. The point is, what I want to hear. What do you guys think about that? Like, these guys, there's fights out there that they can make. Why are they not making those fights?
Yeah.
Like, why are you only fighting 1 or 2 times a year, but you want to be popular? If that's the case, why don't you fight 3, 4 times a year so the fans can see you, so you can build your fan base up?
Well, I truly believe that the fighters are not, they will fight. I believe they really have their hands tied because of, the politics involved. And like you said, who can put butts in the seats? But I can't take a chance of my A fighter fighting a B fighter and losing. I can't do that. Jamal James really survived. When he lost that fight that he lost, he really took a back seat, but he was able to recover just because the culture was different. But usually when you lose a fight like that and you're not even an A fighter, you're done. So he survived that. But I just don't see these guys even letting them take a chance. I mean, what? You got to take your mandatory. Okay, I can understand that. We got mandatories floating around that are horrible. The Canelo mandatory, the Plant mandatory, both of those weren't even really good fights. I mean, they were good fights, but there was no chance of the A side losing. These young guys, Telefino was getting ready to take an easy one. Like you said, Australia allows the situation to happen. So even if they did fight 3 times a year, they're going to be fighting with B-level fighters, C-level fighters, and that's going to create so much controversy. How come you're not fighting the other 4?
Well,
and somebody else. What do you think about that?
So I think you're right. I think that one has to divide. What we have to do is we have to make sure that the fans and the listeners out there understand that when we have this conversation about boxing, there's 2 conversations that actually could be happening simultaneously. So one conversation is about who do we want to see fight? Which fights are the most compelling? Which fights are good for boxing? And which fights could we tune in on ESPN, PBC, DAZN, Fight TV, anywhere? Where can we watch compelling, awesome sport entertainment and want to be coming back to watch more fights? So there's that conversation. Then there's this other conversation that could be happening as well, which we're not having, which is the business of boxing and what goes on behind the scenes in the sport and how the money train has to keep running. And the decisions and the choices that are made around who fights who when and how it goes down has more to do with the power brokers and the sports agents and the guys, the promoters and the guys, the managers behind the scenes trying to make things happen for their fighters or for their networks or for whatever. So it's a complicated landscape of conversation but what we're talking about right now is fighters fighting the best or fighting people that make compelling fights that don't make the fans feel slighted, like they're not getting what they deserve, right?
Well, Coach, you make a very good point. So let's touch on that for a second, okay? So like we talked before, we talked about Comey, we talked about Linares. Even Luke Campbell. I don't know what Luke Campbell and what's the name did. I don't know what the numbers were. I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers were, but I think they were pretty decent, right?
Oh yeah, they were good.
Yes, they were good with him.
So what I'm saying is there are fights now. So we touch just a couple of things. There are fights that the boxing fan is definitely interested in seeing, right? A Linares, a Comey. Some of these other guys, we know that those are real fights. Now, just because someone says you on the B side doesn't mean that the other guy that's on the B side got the memo, right? Your A guy possibly could get beat. Now, here's the question. One of the reasons why these guys may not be taking these fights, and this is just, look, it's because those guys that they consider to be B-level fighters, it's not too far away from their guy. Right? It's not too far away skill-wise from their guy, right? Because or else you would take those fights and so that's one thing, okay? So when you're making the assessment of what you got as a trainer, and you're not drinking your own Kool-Aid, and you're being real about what the skill set is of the fighter. You're a trainer, you know, right? When you take a look at that, you're like, hey, you know what? You know, even this guy, even this Comey fight is too dangerous. Even this fight is too dangerous, right? So that's one thing. The second part of that is I do get the problem of losing a fight. Once you lose a fight, now all of a sudden your negotiating power goes away. So now, even though you put up an entertaining fight, now the promoters use that as leverage to say that if you want this opportunity, right? Take this number, right? So when you on the top of that hill, you have to get that money because that may be your biggest payday ever. So I understand that portion too, right? So there's a lot of dynamics that into that. Yeah.
Well, it's black or it's white. So what happened? Who takes the chance? Who steps out? You know, who does that? Someone has to do that. And to me, I would think the Garcia and the Tank fight would be the one to do it, because either one of those guys could take a loss and still keep their luster. Whereas if Haney loses, he wasn't anything anyway, as far as, you know, the casuals are going to think, you know. And Lopez, he's already proven, so he can sit back and see who comes out. I want that fight, and I don't think it'll hurt either one of those guys. Even if Garcia lost, because of his drawing power, the promoter's not going to hold him over a barrel.
Well,
and Floyd's not going to let Tank be held over a barrel either if he lost.
Yeah.
So the promoters are going to have to pay.
Well, they have to pay anyway. I mean, just to your point, Coach D, you know, earlier on you mentioned, you know, the B side, A side not being far away from one another. And in terms of the box office, I mean, like Ryan Garcia, for when he fought Luke Campbell, the purse payout, I believe he got a guaranteed purse of $500,000 plus 55 or 60% of the pay-per-view shares as a bonus. So that could equate to about $1.5 million, right? Right. That's what they expected. Luke Campbell got $400,000. So he only got $100,000 less than as a guaranteed purse. Right. And then he only gets 40% of the pay-per-view. So these guys are both making out very, very well. But I mean, you know, so that's about $500,000 in pay-per-view shares. So it's about it's about $1 million difference in pay-per-view. And that speaks directly to what you said, Harold, before about Ryan Garcia having all those fans, right? Having lots of people following him and tuning into what he's doing. And so that kind of brings me back to this point about, like, so do you think, like, Ryan Garcia coming out and just saying, oh yeah, I'll fight Teofimo, I'll fight Pac-Man, I'll fight Devin Haney, I'll fight Tank, I'll fight Jake Paul, I'll fight Javier Fortuna, is really just to get him, like, all the feeds are talking about Ryan Garcia. Everybody's talking about Ryan Garcia. What do you think about that?
I agree with that, because I led off our conversation with, is Ryan hurt his market share? You know, is his foot in his mouth and this and that and the other? But you're saying exactly what I'm reacting to. He's in the news. Oh. He's on the tongues of the boxing people. You know, he's he said this, he said that, he said this, he said that. This didn't happen. You know, he's front page on everything.
Yo, he was even on Hot Box. He was on Mike Tyson's Hot Box, blasting him.
He was calling out Tank Davis. And that hot box got him in hot water, because he really, if you really pull that up, I watched that. If you really pull that up, There's no way that you can back out of that. Like the way that you were talking, it's very difficult to back out of that. To backpedal out of that. It was very aggressive, right? So somebody at the top did not think that was a good idea for him to fight Tank Davis, because he obviously was serious about fighting him. He wanted to fight him, you know.
Fighters fight. Fighters fight. Fighters think they, I mean, the last time I checked, there hasn't been a fighter that we have worked with, Coach D, that doesn't believe that they're the Don Dada. I mean, right. that's the job of the fighter, is to believe. If you don't believe you can beat everybody on this planet, maybe boxing's not for you, right?
All right.
So there's that, but then there's the reality of stepping in the ring and potentially having your go. That's a whole other conversation that you're, here you are, the creme de la creme, you're at the top. Hats off to Golden Boy for moving him so properly. I mean, they've done a great job, even with the, all the tension that's gone on between Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya, but they've done a great job at moving him. And so at the end of the day,
for sure, they definitely did a great job with moving him.
I mean,
but I think, now that I think about it, I really don't think it's about I really do think it's about the negotiating power that you lose when you lose that and that is what's stopping these guys, because they really do get they do. Once you lose that negotiating power, man, you're kind of like in a bad spot, because now it's just like any other business. You never negotiate. You never want to negotiate from a position of weakness, right? You're going to get shafted, right? You're a businessman, coach. Yeah, I'm a businessman too. So we know how that goes. But it takes me back to thinking about, I'm a Julio Cesar Chavez fan. And I remember Julio would take fights just to keep sharp, and he wouldn't even care. He would fight a Kenny Vice or someone like that just to keep himself sharp, or he would fight these guys just to keep himself sharp. Now, obviously, he sees Julio Cesar Chavez, and obviously his people, his trainers, know what they have, and they're not threatened by a Kenny Vice, right? They're not threatened by taking that kind of fight. And I'm really starting to wonder, maybe these guys don't believe. I mean, because why are you not fighting the Comeys? Why are you not fighting the Linares? Why are you not fighting the why are you not making those fights? At least make those fights.
So Julio Cesar Chavez was when Julio Cesar Chavez retired, right? He was 107 fights with 6 losses, 85 by way of KO, and 4. He lost 4 of his fights by being KO'd, with 2 draws. 107 wins with 6 losses and 2 draws. Boxing Breakdown fans, that's a fighter, man, who fights. This is what I'm saying. And then we have to wonder why boxing, why we have a difficult time marketing and promoting boxing and having boxing succeed like it did in the heyday, because nobody wants to fight anybody.
But so now, coach, just I want to hear you guys comment. I'm just curious. Why do you think, like I said, Julio Cesar Chavez would take this fight? He wasn't, of course he had the big Mexican following and so forth and so on. He was still making a decent penny even when he took those fights. But what I'm saying is, what do you think about what I just said in reference to, okay, I get that you don't want to take the Tank Garcia fight because it's not big enough. But how do you make it big? Why don't you fight the Comeys? Why don't you fight these other guys? I'm interested in seeing those fights.
So, okay, so here's
why do you think they're not taking
Chavez thing that you brought up. Chavez was his own man. He didn't have a promotional arm twisting him around, saying you can't do this because it's not marketable or whatever. At the time he was fighting, he was basically out of Mexico. So if he wanted to fight, a tune-up or whatever, it was going to happen. These guys are hog-tied, man. They're hog-tied. You know, they simply don't have the kind of leverage to go into the promoter and say, look, I want to fight this guy, make this fight happen. So they're forced to backpedal in the media, looking like they don't want to fight, but they want to fight. It's just the powers that be, to me, are so, they just really got these guys. So
coach, we always talk about as trainers, we kind of know what our guys can do, and we know what our guys can do, and we're very careful about how we accept certain things, right? Accept certain rights, blah blah blah, blah, right? So, Mike, this is what I'm saying, because the fighter is a fighter. He believes he can beat anybody. He's supposed to, else he wouldn't be a fighter, right? But maybe the people that are managing them and training them, when they take a look, they're not drinking the Kool-Aid, right? When they're taking a look at what they have, they don't believe that even fighting these fights like the Comeys or the Levers is a risk, right? And you know, because I don't see, if you're not making the Tank Davis fights, why are you not making those fights? Well, the Telefino Lopez fights. The guy that Telefino Lopez just beat, Lomachenko, right? Why are you not? Those fights are there to be made.
Well, I mean, the argument could be made that the promoters, from the promoters' end, they might have, you know, their lens may be something like this. Well, the Richard Comey, Vasily Lomachenko isn't going to make enough money to pay them. It's not like we can't pay Lomachenko what he needs to get paid, you know, his minimums in order to make that fight. So you're dealing with a situation where, and to, you know, Bob Arum and the folks at Top Rank and Al Heyman and all these guys that have big numbers attached to fighters fighting, you know, if they don't have the audiences and they can't bring in the crowds and the pay-per-view numbers, some of these fights, they've priced themselves out of the market. They've basically priced themselves out of the market. And this is why these guys are sitting around, messing around with social media and you know, keeping their names relevant in the media, because really none of them have any intention on fighting unless there's going to be some audience where they can get paid. These guys are looking to get paid big bucks. I just told you, Ryan Garcia just got, you know, for the Luke Campbell fight, a mandatory purse of $500,000 plus 60% of the pay-per-view numbers, which equates to about $1.5 million. So now what? He's supposed to go back and fight for less now? The people that handle him aren't going to allow that to happen, I don't believe. So you kind of are in a quandary. And I think from the fighter standpoint, you know, what he's saying, what Ryan Garcia is saying on the news and on the media, he's coming out and he's saying, I'll fight anybody. I'll fight this guy. I'll fight that guy. Who wants to fight? Meanwhile, the guys in the back are saying, no, you won't fight that guy because we're not letting you fight that guy because we need more money. And so that's the
yeah, you make a good point, Coach. Like they just don't think that they could get a return on their investment. But I don't see how you don't get a return. Look, they sold out Madison Square Garden, and when Telefino Lopez was in, we was at Old Dog when Telefino Lopez was in camp for that fight, because we was working with Alexander Mendez at that time, at the same time that they was fighting. Matter of fact, they was fighting on the same night, right?
Yeah, but the thing is,
but
Coach,
they sold out Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but there's no audience now, Coach. Remember, we got to remember we're still in COVID-19 land, and you're not going to get you're fighting in the bubble. All these fights are happening in the bubble. In fact. Any potential fight within the next 6 months, maybe 4 months, is got to be bubble orientated. You're going to have minimal audience. I don't know how it's going to go down. So
I get that. I get exactly what you're saying, Coach, and I agree with that. They can't figure out how to get the return. But the other part, Harold, the only way that I see them making those fights, is that if they fight the guys like the other level tier. Because honestly, those guys at the other level tier, there's no pushovers. And on any given night, those fights are risky fights. That just, you can put them on the B side all you want. And those guys will take less money because they're in a position these guys don't want to be. They're in a position where they're negotiating from of a position of they're not in a very strong, they don't have a lot of leverage, and they'll take the shorter money to try to make that fight work for the opportunity. You know what I mean?
So I would love to have Ryan Garcia come on. Of course we would. You know how our numbers would shoot up if we had Ryan Garcia on the Boxing Breakdown. Ryan, come on, get on the program. Let's hear your side of it and what you think about what's coming up in your future, because we all need to know. We need to know what you're thinking, what's going on. And then lastly, I would say this. Here's the bright side, because I want to leave the Boxing Breakdown listeners with something positive just before we head on out here, right? And that is that during all this COVID-19 and all this time where we've been fighting in bubbles and boxing has kind of been, the big fights haven't really been able to be made because of COVID-19. What I would say is that a lot of these fighters who don't get the notoriety, who normally you don't get a chance to see on PBC or ESPN or any of the other major fight networks, it's been a blessing because we've gotten a chance to see some of the most incredible fights that we would have never seen. What was the fight? Baranchek against Zapata, that fight, who was the fight of the year. Like, you would have never seen that fight. Like, that was an amazing fight, man. Like, we've gotten used to seeing really beautiful grassroots fights that have taken place, 50-50 fights in the bubble, on all the bubbles. And I just want to commend the networks and the promoters, whoever's involved in making those fights, because that's what the fans really want to see. And we got to kind of get back to that and figure out how we can monetize that, because that's good for boxing, And as far as these bigger fights like Ryan Garcia, man, hopefully by the next Boxing Breakdown, we will get a very good idea of what Ryan Garcia, the man of the hour, is going to be up to, like what is he going to do? So just before we head out, do you guys have anything else you want to say?
Well, just quickly, in the South here, we have 15, 16 fights on the card because they can't fight anyplace else. In the South, you're allowed to be in arenas, in the small arenas, the club fights, shoulder to shoulder. So we're seeing that type of fights, the good fights you're talking about that aren't necessarily marquee. So it is happening. It's just not being broadcast across the country.
Right. Good point. Good point, Harold. And Coach D, what you got to say?
Well, I agree. I mean, here's the bottom line. You're not going to get a Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearn billing unless you do what they did. What made Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearn such a good billing is that Sugar Ray Leonard had just came off of the 2 fights with Roberto Duran. And Tommy Hearns just wiped out Pino Cuevas and some of the other fighters. And they said, hey, listen, these 2 guys has cleared everything else out. Right?
Right.
And that's how you got those mega fights. So these guys really should have to consider maybe it's not time for you guys to fight each other. But there's so many other good fights that we're interested in, and you're fighting one time a year, is not going to raise your stature to get to those, to get the numbers that you need to get you past the casual fan, right? So that you can get the numbers where we can make those big fights, unless you fight.
Right.
So fight some of the guys that that we're very interested. We're still interested to see you fight the Colombes, the Linares. You mean to tell me you don't want to see Ugas fight Terrence Crawford? Why wouldn't you? Right? That's a great fight, right? So so these are things that I would like to see them get. Just take a look at the career of Julio Cesar Chavez. Take a look at the career of some of these guys. And these guys were fighting, and they were in front of the public eye. Right. Not just on Facebook, not just on Twitter, but they was actually on TV fighting.
Yep. You're good. Hey, I love what you said, Coach D. We are just about out of time, and I just wanted to thank both of you, Coach Dwayne, Fenn, and Harold. You are the man for being on. Thank you so much, both of you. It's been a really, really wonderful conversation around the King, Ryan Garcia, and hit us up. You can reach us at RoxySportsEntertainment.com/theboxingbreakdown. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and any other social platforms at The Boxing Breakdown. And we want to thank you for listening today. And with that, peace, love, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Boxing Breakdown.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.